Hey gang, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. So welcome back to my tiny RV kitchen. We're going to be in here for a few minutes because today I'm sharing some of my best tips for how I conserve resources while I'm boondocking, which is pretty much all the time. So I'm going to share some things with you. I'm going to share some cooking hacks, or food prep hacks, that kind of thing, to make food last longer. I'm going to share water conservation tips. I'm going to share propane conservation tips. So let's roll the intro. But before we do, as always, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. It means a lot to me. Not sure exactly when this is coming out, but when I looked yesterday, I was like 50 hours away from finally being monetized. That's watch hours. So if you feel like helping out and pushing me right over the edge, you can pull up the playlist called All Videos in mostly chronological order and just let that play in the background on your computer. You can even mute it, it doesn't matter. And push me over the edge, I'd really appreciate that. Here's the intro and then we'll get right into it. Okay, first up, or maybe not, I'm not sure what order these are going to go in, but one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm doing some food prep, which will help to conserve energy in terms of electricity and will also help in terms of making it easier for me to make my meals. So I want to cook this ear of corn and then I'm going to strip it off the cob and I'll just put it in a bag and or a container of some kind and put it in the fridge when it cools down and it'll be ready to go in my salad. So all I'm going to do, I've already, husked it. I figured you all know how to do that, and if you don't, I probably can't help you. I'm going to wrap this in a damp paper towel and then I'm going to wrap a dry paper towel around it. And I'm going to put it in the microwave for about 3 minutes, I think should do it. So let's pop this in the nuker. And oh, by the way, I just finished eating breakfast and doing the dishes from that. So why am I working on other stuff now? Well, I've got a few spare minutes to do it. I wanted to make this video for you. And getting stuff out of the way makes life so much easier for me. So, I was at Sam's Club about 10 days ago, and this is going to be a surprise for both of us, by the way. And I bought a giant bag of cucumbers. Holy crap-a-noli. Can you see that? These cucumbers are still absolutely fine. And they're fine. No slime, no soft spots. They're fine because I wrapped them in paper towels and then put them in a Ziploc bag. So I still have 4 left. I think I'm going to turn those into pickles. I think that's what I'm going to do with them. But I got another bag that I just bought fresh at Walmart. So, and I'm not going to reuse this bag because it's already all damp. That's a little bit wasteful, you might think, but not too much, because what I do is just kind of roll it up here. I put it behind my faucet, and then I use that as a trash bag so that I'm not throwing out as many trash bags. So it's another conservation method there. All right, so you can already see, I hope, see all the condensation in these cucumbers? I just bought these, actually day before yesterday. I meant to get to this yesterday. And they're fine right now, but they're wet. And if I let them go this way, they're going to be too wet to truly be useful. So, what I do is, let me get out a fresh bag. So I've got a fresh gallon-sized Ziploc bag right here ready to go. Oh, and let me show you this clever little tool I've got too. I love this thing. This is a bag holder. And I just extended the arms because it's a gallon-sized bag. And I'm going to push them down a little bit. I'm going to set that over there so I can put my cucumbers in when we're ready to go with those. So I've got one paper towel out here, which is going to be the one that I use to dry the cucumbers, because I want them dry before I start this process. And all I'm going to do is get out a cucumber, dry it off, and then I'll stick it on this paper towel, which is going to get wrapped up in. And depending on the size, I can do either 2 or 3 per paper towel. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to do 3 because I've got 6 cucumbers in here. wait a minute, you're wasting a bunch of paper towels. Well, here's the deal. I reuse the paper towels. It's like the paper towels that I'm going to make these into pickles from. Those paper towels are getting reused. All right, this one is so thick, I can't actually get it completely covered. And it seems to be important that the cucumbers are completely covered. Okay, so those are done. We're going to pop them right in the bag. Yeah, some of these are actually really big. All right, let's try this guy off. So yeah, we're going to do 2, 2, and 2. So again, I'm just going to roll this up, stick the next one on, roll it up, good to go. And I will look up when I bought this bag at Sam's Club and tell you how long I've had it. Because I think it might have been before I went to Indiana. Is that even possible? I have no idea. I'll have to look it up. Alright, so here we have 6 cucumbers that aren't going to be slimy and disgusting for a while. And then we're going to just zip this up. Now, does that mean that I can completely ignore these if I'm not using them right away? No, it does not. Here's what happens. Every couple of days, two or 3 days usually, you kind of need to keep an eye on it. You'll need to open up the bag, take out the cucumbers, and wrap them in dry paper towels again, because these will start to get wet. And wet is the enemy of cucumbers, I found. This is how I end up with so many cucumbers that I ended up having to throw away. I was buying the really expensive English cucumbers, and they call these mini cucumbers. But the expensive cucumbers that I was buying, I ended up having them go bad often because I just couldn't keep them in a good condition. So I know how to do this. Let me stick these away. I'm going to show you the next thing. What? This is celery. I bought this celery, I think about a week ago now. Let me find the end of my wrapper. And it's wrapped up in aluminum foil. I actually haven't used any yet. I was going to make chicken salad and didn't do it yet. And I always try and unwrap it pretty carefully so I don't rip the aluminum foil, but I want you to see week-old cucumber. Look at that. Bright green, nice and crisp, not wet. I looked this up. I'm going to get rid of this piece of leafy green though, because that'll be the first thing to get wet. I looked this up. I found it on the USDA website. Now I got to tell you guys, I am not a fan of aluminum anything. I don't think it's good for us in general. But I'm also not a fan of wasting food. And in particular, when I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I don't have the ability to be able to replace my food easily. So I'm doing whatever hacks I can to keep stuff as fresh and in good condition as possible. Okay, this is both food prep and product review. So this is my second full star chopper. The one that I've had previously has, like, see if I can do this without cutting myself, has these chopping blades that go in, and like this is the larger one. I use this for things like cutting up sweet potatoes to make sweet potato hash. But then there's also a smaller one, which I can't get out with one hand apparently, like this, which is amazing for making salsa. Dicing onions. So like I've used this to make salsa all the time. Dice my onions, I dice my tomatoes, I dice my jalapenos, and they're all these uniform little square sizes. Absolutely amazing. So the one that I had previously had those two blades, plus it had a spiralizer kind of thing, which honestly I never used. This one has those two blades, a different style of spiralizer, which I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get around to using. This is the top where the stuff will actually cut. And in addition, it has a mandolin. which is what I really wanted this to make the change for. So I got some cucumbers here, and what I want to do is slice them on the mandolin. Now, you should be using the food pusher. You should be using the glove that they provide. I'm not using either of those until I get to a point where I think I need to. So basically all you do is go back and forth. This is how you use a mandolin. And I wanted this because I want my slices to be entirely uniform. Can I do it with a knife? Kinda, but it takes a while. And why am I doing this today? Well, I'm doing it today because when I leave here tomorrow, I'm going to be able to fill up my water again. And I took a shower this morning. So one of my favorite hacks is make the maximum use of whatever you can. See, I'm getting close, so I'm slowing down because I don't want to catch my finger. Okay, that's the end of that one. That's all I'm wasting. And this time I'm going to cut the end off because I've got the very end in there, which I really didn't want. So make the maximum use of whatever you're doing. For example, I took a shower this morning, and that meant I wanted to turn on the water heater. So I turned on the water heater, heated up the water for my shower, but I still got hot water in the water tank. And that means, well, gee, I can use hot water to wash things. And, you know, normally I don't do that. I use just vinegar water and soap and water in spray bottles. And I'm saying "and" a lot, sorry. But because when I leave this place tomorrow, I'm going to be able to fill up my water. What is this place? I'm actually in the parking lot of either the city or the state highway department maintenance yard. And this will be my second night here. I got permission. They said I could stay here, no problem. And so I got permission. This is cucumber number 3 now. And what am I making with these cucumbers, you might want to know. I'm making what I call cucumber salad, which is a combination of rice vinegar, liquid aminos, sesame oil, sesame seeds, and a little bit of salt. And this is going to be so nice to have all of my pieces completely uniform. Watch the fingers, Sal. Don't ever look away when you're failing to use the food pusher as I am. That's a really good way. We had something like this that was completely manual when I was a child, and my parents always called it the finger slicer, and with good reason. So I don't want to engage in finger slicing at all. So I decided to go ahead and do this today for a couple of different reasons. One is I had purchased a fresh bag of cucumbers thinking that these were going to be going bad, and realized that these were perfectly fine, but I didn't want to mix 2 different ages of cucumbers in the same bag. It would be confusing. And I love this cucumber salad, and since I can make the salad, use plenty of water to wash my mandolin, I thought, why not? Alright, so, and this is the other thing that's so cool about this version. My other one, you gotta take the top off. But let's look at what we got here. Can you guys see that? Look at all those nice, even cucumber slices. Let me see if I can turn it sideways. This is the thickness I decided to make, and it's got adjustable thicknesses. Yummy crunchy. Okay. And the other thing is, this part that holds the basket doesn't need to be washed. This part does. So we're going to put that in the sink. And get our jar. I always check to make sure that my jar doesn't have, you know, if it's been closed up, that it doesn't have any weird smells or anything, because I don't really want that transferring to my cucumber salad. You can do this in a bowl too. I just find it like super easy to do it this way. And I think I'm going to get all 4 cucumbers in here. And one way to do it, of course, is to put the, oops, I think that was, oh good, and I found the end of the first one that I didn't cut off. Good for me. Look at that, they're all going to fit. Perfecto. Okay, so you can make your dressing for this first, or you can put the cucumbers in, which is what I chose to do. So let's go ahead and get our dressing going. See, the other reason for doing this is that it might help me empty this bottle of vinegar. No, not quite, I bet. So this is, oh yeah, I am going to empty it. Cool. This is unseasoned rice vinegar. So I don't necessarily need to put that much in. I just decided to do it so I can empty the bottle. Bragg's liquid aminos. I don't use soy sauce because I'm actually allergic to soy. Although soy sauce in and of itself is not a bad thing. Because it's a fermented product, I can get away with it. But it's also heavily, heavily salted. So I try to avoid it. Where, oh where? There it is. Toasted sesame oil. I am often surprised at what I'm able to find, and you see how well I'm measuring things, right? What I'm able to find in the grocery store and what I'm not able to find in the grocery store. So, for example, Walmart has organic toasted sesame oil. Who'd have thunk? I'm sorry, kid. I don't mean to disturb you. You're fine. You're fine. He says, I'm not fine, Mom. I'm not fine. Okay. Where, oh, where, oh, where are the sesame seeds? They must be in the other container. I'm going to get a little bit of salt. Kit doesn't like it when I open the cabinet above him. That's like, I don't know, less than half a teaspoon. Because occasionally I was dropping things on him before I did my whole cabinet reorganization. And now, with my cabinet reorganized, I don't drop things on him anymore. And normally I would just stop with adding some sesame seeds, but I want to put a little ginger in as well if I can find it. Where is it? There it is. I knew it was in here someplace. So I'm just going to put in a little ginger. That wasn't really as much as it looked like. I would say that's probably 1/8 of a teaspoon. And I'm going to put on some sesame seeds. That's about half a teaspoon. I'm going to add more. I love sesame seeds, even though they get stuck in my teeth sometimes. Okay, so that's all there is to that. Now, I'm just going to put the lid on. Actually, I'm going to stick my, yep, just like that, going to stick my fingers in and try and push the seasonings and the sesame seeds down a little bit so that they don't just end up on top of my lid. Now I'm just going to turn it upside down, give it a shake. By the way, these plastic lids have, what do you call it, gaskets in them so that they don't leak, which is very cool. See, I still got a bunch of sesame seeds on my lid. Now let's give it a taste, and I have to imagine what it's going to taste like after it marinates for a few hours. Pretty perfect is what it tastes like in terms of my expectation in a few hours. So, this chopper is super easy to clean, especially if you're doing anything hard. Use the food pusher. Cucumbers are nice and light and easy, so I don't bother with it. And as I said, they also include a glove to protect your hand. No idea how well that works. Don't really want to find out. Better not to slice your fingers. Just saying. Sorry, let me show you the rest of this. It's got a grater blade for the mandolin, and this is a julienne blade. So you can make julienne, you can make slices, you can make grates. And the blade heights are all adjustable so you can control the thickness. Okay, and then in addition to the stuff I already showed you, they give you a cleaning brush. Honestly, I don't really like this one. I don't think it's quite stiff enough. I don't think it's quite big enough. I'll show you what I do instead. This one came with 3 different little pickers. They're all the same. These are good for getting the debris. out of the part that pushes your food through here. So this part right here, sometimes food debris gets stuck in here, and then those little pushers, the scrapers, get it out pretty easily. So I don't use the little brush that it came with. I have this very stiff brush from Home Depot that I need to go find a Home Depot and replace that brush, because I've had it for a long time and I can't get it completely clean anymore, so that doesn't thrill me. A couple of these I'm probably already covering in some clips that I shot while I was doing stuff this morning. And so this whole video came about because I was standing in the shower, aren't you glad, for the first time in several days, because I don't shower every single day. And I'm thinking about how nice it is to be able to take a shower and how little water it really does take for me. So, and as I was thinking about that, I'm thinking about all these other things that I do to conserve resources when I'm boondocking, which is almost all the time. Right now, I'm actually boondocking in the parking lot of, I'm not sure if this is the city or the state maintenance yard for like roads and stuff like that. But it's right next to this beautiful community park. I'm in Trumansburg, New York, visiting a friend of mine that I first met in Yuma. I think that is just so cool. And so we were hanging out yesterday. We're going to hang out again today. In fact, she'll be here in 15 minutes. I'll be done by then. And there's no place for me to park at the house where she's staying. And all of the other things that I tried nearby just weren't all that great. So I pulled up yesterday because there was something on the other side of the park that I wanted to take a look at, a little quirky thing. I'll try and remember to put a link. Although that probably hasn't been published by the time this gets published. It's just the way my life goes. And I went and asked them if it would be okay if I could park here for 2 nights. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. You know, you're going to leave by Wednesday, right? Because they have this huge farmer's market. I said, yeah, I'll be out of here, you know, mid-morning Wednesday at the latest. So they were all good with that. So, let's get on to our tips. I got 10 tips for you. And we're running the gamut from propane to electricity, which actually you might think I'm wasting electricity rather than conserving it. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. To water, to food. I'm going to cover the gamut. So first of all, you don't need to have the water heater running all the time. If you're not, you know, especially if you're not plugged in. Now my water heater will run either on electric or on propane. When I am plugged in, I will run it on electric. And occasionally I forget to turn it off before I leave, because I will leave it running all the time then. And occasionally I forget to turn it off when I leave, and then I'm pulling a fair amount of electricity unnecessarily. So the reason to only turn the water heater on when you need it is to conserve whatever fuel source you're using, electric or propane. For most of us, it's propane most of the time. Here's the other thing. When I first got started, I thought that, you know, it would be okay to turn it off after it had actually stopped heating the water. Which in this rig takes about 30 minutes to heat the water, the whole water tank up completely, and then the propane shuts off. Well, what I finally realized was I don't need scalding hot water in the hot water tank in order to be able to take a shower or do dishes or any of that kind of stuff. I need, moderately hot water that isn't going to scald me. So instead of leaving it on for the full cycle, I usually only run it 10 or 15 minutes before I get in the shower, and then I turn it off before I get in the shower so that it doesn't cycle on again while I'm in there. And for me, that's plenty of hot water for a shower. So let's talk about water conservation in regard to showers. If you haven't already, make sure that you've got a shower head that you can turn off. Now there's lots of other ways to shower. I'm talking about if you're living in an RV like I am that has all the household amenities. You know, I've got a full bathroom, I got a full kitchen. I have black tanks, gray tanks, fresh water tanks. So I live as if I'm living in a house, although I do it very conservatively. And in fact, when I'm in a house, I find myself being equally conservative. Look, there he is. There's the kid. He had such a good time with Victoria yesterday, and me. So when I get in the shower, I used to turn the hot water on and wait for it to heat up, and my effort at conservation then was that I would run the water into a bucket until it got warm enough, and then I'd use that for flushing the toilet or washing my hands or whatever else until I'd used it up. And I found that doing that, I was going through roughly a quart and a half of water before it got warm enough, I thought, to actually put on my body. In the summertime, which it still is for me, I am pretty comfortable turning that water faucet on my body long before it's actually heated up. So basically I turn the hot water faucet on and I just crack it open just a little bit. Don't turn it on full force. I don't need all that water. I need enough water to come through the shower spray head and deliver enough force that I feel like I'm actually getting wet and getting clean, which is nowhere near the amount of water that I can get if I turn the faucets on all the way. So I crack the hot water tank, the hot water faucet open, and when that starts to heat up, I press the off button on my shower head. And if you don't have a shower head that you can turn off, you want to get one. And there's two different kinds. There are the kinds that are that is made for an RV, and those, when you press the button to turn them off, they do not shut off completely. They continue to dribble. And the reason for that is so that when you turn it back on, you're not going to get scalding hot water or super cold water coming out of it, because that drip will maintain the temperature that you've set. In theory, that sounds like a great idea, and I've used those kinds of shower heads before. In practice, what I have found is I feel like I waste less water if I simply do not direct the shower head at myself when I press the button to turn it back on. It doesn't take more than, for my shower head, it doesn't take more than a second or so for it to re-equalize the temperature, and because I'm using a moderate temperature to begin with, it's really not a big deal. So, just to recap, don't run the water heater any longer than you need, and don't use any more water in the shower than you really need to. Don't turn the faucet on full force. Not necessary. Okay. So, once you've gotten through those two tips, let's go into the kitchen. Let's talk about dishes. Never put soap on your sponge or your dishcloth or whatever item you use to actually wash your dishes. If you put the dish soap directly on your cleaning implement, it creates so many suds that you'll need a ton of water to get them all off. And that's not what we're trying to do here. So I always use the 2 spray bottle method, except for the last day before I'm going to be dumping or refilling water, or both, depends on what's going on. We'll talk about that. So my 2 spray bottle method, I have 1 quart bottle that is full of water, and I put about 3 good sized squirts of Dawn in it. That's my washing bottle. And then I have another 32-ounce bottle, 1 quart, that is full of water with about a third of a cup of vinegar in it. Just plain white distilled vinegar, no big deal. Here's one thing to be careful of, though. In the cleaning aisle at Dollar Tree, they sell something called cleaning vinegar, which is not plain white distilled vinegar. So you can use that for cleaning. It's okay. I wouldn't use it on my dishes personally, but you can use it for cleaning other things, and I have, and it's good for that. But don't make the mistake of putting that on your dishes. Don't use it to make salad dressing. Don't do any of those things. And then what I do is I just spray the spray bottle with soap on my dishes. I do turn on the faucet to wet my sponge if it's dried out. So I'll turn on the faucet, wet my sponge, and then just wash my dishes. And typically what I do is I put everything into one location. So if I've got a bowl, for example, I'll wash my plate, I'll wash my silverware, I put it all in the bowl so that all of the residual suds and so forth are dripping in there. I don't do it in the sink proper because I find that I end up wasting more water that way. And then once I've washed everything, then I rinse by using the spray bottle with the vinegar, and it's just spray, spray, spray. Takes a minute, not that difficult. And here's the thing that's interesting. Because I'm going to be refilling my water when I leave here in the morning, and because I just dumped my tanks the other day, you really don't want your tanks to be completely empty. And my gray tank is never more than half full because I am so conservative about the amount of water that I use. So on a day like today, I thought, all right, I'm going to just rinse my dishes since I've got hot water left over from my shower. I'm going to just rinse my dishes using the hot water from the faucet. And what I found, I was rinsing my silverware and I still had soap suds on it. So I turned off the faucet, got my spray bottle, sprayed my silverware, and it was actually much better rinsed than it was just using water. And I think the vinegar really helps with that quite a bit. If you haven't already, try the 2 spray bottle method. And those 2 quarts, I used to say I could go through about 4 days. I really think it's more like almost a week that I can wash all my dishes on 2 quarts of water. And I cook twice a day, pretty much every day. We're going to talk about food prep and stuff too in just a minute. Now, if you have an absorption fridge like I do, and I've done a couple of other videos just about refrigerator woes. The most recent one was, why can't I chill? Absorption fridges do not work the way that a conventional residential style refrigerator does. And in fact, they don't keep your food nearly as fresh. So that's why we're going to talk about how to keep your food fresh and some meal prep ideas and stuff like that. If you have enough solar and battery power, as I do, I'm really pleased with my system now, consider switching your absorption style fridge to run on electric power during the day, which is free from the sun. And then you have to set an alarm, write a reminder note or whatever it takes, or I do at least. I don't want to run my fridge on electric 24 hours a day. For one thing, I don't want my inverter on overnight because my converter makes noise and there's no reason to leave the inverter on overnight. There's nothing I need it for. But by putting my refrigerator onto electric during the day, I'm getting free power from the sun in the system that I've already established. It's not like I'm going to wear it out or anything. And I switch it back to propane once the sun starts to go down and I'm not getting enough power to be able to not have it cost me battery life to run the refrigerator. So there's a tip for you. And I imagine most people are probably not in the fortunate position that I am to be able to do that. Let's talk about shopping a little bit. And I learned this from my good friend Donna. Shalom on the roam. Go subscribe to her channel if you haven't already. I know many of you already are, and thank you for that. But shop at thrift stores. And the more I got into this, I realized a couple of different things. Not only does it save you money, but it also helps to reduce the amount of waste in a couple of different ways. I mean, for one thing, you're not really bringing clothes home and having to rip off all the tags. The manufacturers felt compelled to put, stickers on your shirts and tags for the price and all the other stuff. But it really does help to save the environment to reuse things rather than buying something new all the time. And it took me a little while to get my head around that, and now I'm going to make a confession, part of my childhood stuff. And we all have childhood stuff, which is why I want to share this with you, to see if it resonates for you at all. In fact, I think I figured out recently why I'm so afraid of heights. I doubt I'm going to talk about that in this video. I think my issue with shopping at thrift stores, because I always donated a whole bunch of stuff, the stuff I didn't want anymore, and the way that I was brought up is, you give the things that you no longer want to the poor. I'm sorry, I don't consider myself to be poor. Financially, emotionally, spiritually, I'm not poor. Okay? It's just the way it is. So, as a result of that, my mother made me feel like I would be lesser than if I ever went and shopped at a thrift store. It was okay for me to give away the things I didn't want, but it was not okay for me to go buy things there. I've come to believe that it is absolutely not only okay, but it's almost a moral imperative. If I can get something that works perfectly well for me, in fact, I gotta tell you, I bought a top that I really like at a Goodwill in Fort Wayne a couple weeks ago for $1.49. And I didn't feel the least bit guilty about it. And yeah, here's the thing, save the environment. You live here. A lot of people talk about saving the environment for their kids. I don't have any kids to save the environment for. But I see enough going on in public land and all kinds of other things that anything I can do that doesn't make me feel bad about doing it, it doesn't make me feel inconvenienced or whatever, I'm going to do it. So there's that. Okay, but you can't buy everything at the thrift store. And in particular, you really can't buy groceries at the thrift store. So one of my caveats is don't bring trash home with you. Don't keep trash in your house. Eliminate all of the extra packaging from things that you get that you don't need before you ever even leave the parking lot of the store where you bought them. Now, I do that almost all the time, and I shared with you how to keep your celery fresh for like 3 or 4 weeks. This works at home too, by the way, if you've got a regular refrigerator. How to keep cucumbers fresh for like 10 days. And in fact, I'm going to put on the screen, I got to look up when I bought the last batch and put that on the screen so that I know exactly how old they were when I showed them to you on that video. And then one of the tips that I didn't show you because I kind of ran out of time is I buy romaine lettuce and bring the lettuce home. Don't cut it, by the way, because cutting it makes it brown, the edges brown faster than not cutting it. And I used to have a plastic lettuce knife, which I may look for and buy again. I don't know why I didn't get it out of the house when I was there. It didn't even occur to me. I don't buy spring mix in containers anymore unless I don't have any other choice. But even if I do, if I buy the spring mix, I do the same thing. I take it out of the container, I line a Ziploc gallon-sized bag with paper towels, put the lettuce in, roll it up to get all the air out, takes up a whole lot less space, and now it's ready to go. I don't have to do anything else to it, just pull it out, put it in my bowl to make a salad, whatever. With romaine, which is what I'm using mostly now, don't cut it, tear it, but do the same thing. Line a gallon bag with paper towels and tear it into bite-sized pieces, put it in the bag. And actually one of the reasons that I like this with romaine as well is that this way I get the darker green leafy parts, which are all up at the top end, mixed in with the lighter green, more crunchy parts, and then I get a more consistent salad by doing it this way. I discovered, and I haven't started doing this for Walmart yet, but I plan to. Actually, I have 2 more tips for you. This one and one more. When I want to order stuff, when I want to get stuff from Sam's Club, and especially when I only want to get a few things, and the reason that this is a frugal hack is I can go onto the Sam's Club app and I can order for pickup whatever I want. And then I just drive up and I pick it up. So why is this a money-saving hack? If I'm not walking through the store, I'm not impulse shopping. I'm not saying, oh, that looks good, let's try that. Okay? So I actually do save quite a bit of money that way, and I save a bunch of storage space because I'm not buying things that I really don't need to have in my house, which is mostly bad for me food items. Same thing with Walmart. Now, I don't think I'll do it with produce, but I think anything that is non-perishable, I would absolutely do it with Walmart. Same theory. It's going to save you time, effort, and money. Okay, last hack. Okay, this is a 2-ounce plastic cup. I get these in a bag of 50 at Walmart. They're like $3. They have lids. So here's what I love these for. I love these for making salad dressings. I love them for making seasoning mixes. Like when I've got a bunch of seasonings to put in something, I'll put them all in one of these cups, get all my seasonings and stuff in, get my salad dressing in, put the lid on, shake it up, and there you go. So there are 10 plus tips about how to conserve your resources while you're boondocking. Hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please leave a comment down below, give me a like, thumbs up, all that stuff. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.